Hey, good morning, good Shabbos. Very glad to be able to be here, to keep finding a way to be together. I want to wish you also a happy New Year. Also, it's technically not a Jewish New Year, but we have so many other New Years on the calendar. Like, what's one more? Right there's Rosh Hashanah. We got Tu B'Shvat. We got New Year's for Cadbury bars. So we have like New Year's for everything. So why not New Year's today? We could use a bit of a reset. And the fact is that every single day is the beginning of a new year. Right? We just kind of arbitrarily pick the dates and the names of it, but the fact is that every day really could be the beginning of a new year. And the word Shana really means to go around. It means to return, but it also means to change and to find a way of maybe thinking about doing something different from the word lishnot. Try to figure out what would be a good path around the sun. And I was thinking about this year, the New Year's, January 1st, is a little bit different from last year, January 1st. Ironically, the world is potentially better this year than last year, but we're feeling less optimistic about things. If you think about last January 1st, which was about 10 years ago, at least in terms of how it feels, the vaccine is on its way, and everyone's gonna take it. And then we're gonna be fine. And then they didn't. And now we have something called Omicron, which, if I remember, was like the name of a watch or something. I forget who made it, but it said, make sure to get Omicron in the new year. And now we can all afford it. And we're tired. Anyone here not tired of this? Okay, put your hands down. And people are saying that, well, my brain's tired, but there's certain parts of the brain that are more tired than others. So the part of our brains that develop last is the decision-making part of our brain. The part that says, I could, but I shouldn't. The part of our brain that develops first is what I call the, hey, watch this part of our brain, which is often very many people's last words. The part of my brain right now that's tired is the decision-making part of my brain. I don't want to make another decision. I only have black socks now. I just can't make another decision. What do you want for dinner? That one's too hard. I don't know. I just stare at the fridge and I wait for something to talk to me. But the part of my brain that isn't tired is the part that gets angry, and the part that gets frustrated, and the part that has just had enough. See, the decision part of my brain that says I have enough, that one's not doing as well. The part of my brain that says I've had enough, that one's active. And I have to pay attention to that. I saw someone the other day wearing his mask like a chin strap, which I think of as the new neck beard. I didn't know this person. I don't know whether this person won the Nobel Peace Prize. Knew nothing about the person. But in that moment, I hated his guts. Hated his guts. I was going to say something, except was bigger than me. And then I realized, what do you, like, am I the only one who just gets irrationally angry at stuff, or even if it's like a little rational? and then you're going to do something to make it worse. So our Torah portion today is actually about that. Pharaoh believes that he's a god. Right? That's essentially his job description. He is the god of Egypt, and he's in control, and he has these magicians called Khartoumim who can bend nature to Pharaoh's will. And then here's this guy named Moshe who says, you know what? You're not a god after all. Pharaoh gets very angry. And so God tells Moses and Aaron, take Aaron's staff, and it can become a serpent. And then the Khartoumim, the magicians, they take a staff and it becomes a serpent. Aaron's serpent eats the other serpent. Okay, relatively benign, but then they turn the Nile into blood. The Nile is the life force of Egypt. It's the only river they got. If the Nile floods and makes the land fertile, they're okay, and if it doesn't flood, they're in trouble. And if it floods blood, it's really bad. So they turn the Nile into blood. And then what do the magicians do? They also turn the Nile into blood. What? Why is that good? And then Moses and Aaron, they bring lice. The magicians bring more lice. And then Moses and Aaron bring Tzifardea, a frog. Now, according to the Midrash, this is like Frogzilla. Tzifardea is in the singular. So they bring this gigantic frog, and the Torah says, Ve'asu chan hachartumim. And so the magicians bring more frogs. And bring so many frogs they can't even get rid of them. And eventually the Khartoumim said, Pharaoh, this is a really dumb idea. Moses and Aaron are doing something destructive to Egypt, and we're doing something destructive to Egypt. Why is this good? And so what Pharaoh did was say, you're fired. Because Pharaoh's ego is so fragile that any challenge is absolutely unacceptable to him. And he would rather be destructive than understand that it's his ego, that it's his anger, that it's his frustration that's causing all these problems. What Pharaoh should have been said, if you turn the Nile into blood, why don't you turn it back into water? If they're bringing frogs, let's find a way to get rid of the frogs, or at least deep fry them. They didn't have any kosher laws back then in Egypt. It's okay, we can talk about this. But Pharaoh is so angry that all he can do is lash out. All he can do is be destructive. And instead of trying to figure out what is a good response, he could have said, I've learned something about myself. I am not the most powerful thing in the universe, but I'm still the most powerful person in the world, and I can do good things. Just because my world has changed or my worldview has changed doesn't mean that I still can't do good things for others, still can't do good things for myself. And I think that this is important for us to think about going into this year. Is our hate and anger and fear affecting the people we love the most? Is it eating away at our own sense of self, our own sense of purpose, our own sense of possibility? Everyone last year was like, ooh, it's a new year. And everyone this year was like, shh. Don't tell them. How we think about our own fear, our own issues, is going to really be the difference between whether we have a happy new year or we have a self-destructive one. We can't do a lot about what's actually going to happen in the world. We can't force people to do things in the way that we hoped that they would. But what we can do is find a way to say, I will live with purpose, I will live with meaning, I will not live by my anger. I'll still get angry because I'm human. Right? Anyone who says they never get angry, you're going to want to step away because at some point they're going to blow. Anger is a real human emotion. Taking your anger out on others is where it becomes a problem. Taking your anger out on yourself, saying, oh, I should have done this. I should have gotten my life together. You're never going to get it together. It's never going to be perfect. It's never going to all work out the way you think. But if you look at this as an opportunity to embrace who you are, you may have had enough. You might not have enough, but you are enough. And if we remember that, we'll find a way to get through this together. Shabbat Shalom and Happy New Year.